What if you could rewrite the calendar and create time itself? Not with a time machine, with a tool that costs less than $1? In the world of tech, Sanjay Kumar didn't just bend the rules. He rewrote the calendar. This CEO turned accounting into alchemy and defied the very concept of time. Time became just another number to manipulate. This creative accounting trick brought in billions, until it didn't. From a Sri Lankan refugee to a CEO who could create months out of thin air, here's how one immigrant invented a month that never existed and lost everything. This is the story of Sanjay Kumar, the man who invented the impossible 35-day month. But wait, what exactly is a 35-day month? Keep watching. I'll break down this mind-blowing scheme later. Sanjay Kumar's life is a tale of ambition, betrayal, and the crushing weight of consequence. Born in 1962 in Sri Lanka, his early years were shaped by the instability of civil unrest. By 1976, his family made a desperate choice to leave everything behind, immigrating to the United States in search of safety and opportunity. For a teenager starting over in South Carolina, the challenges were immense. A new culture, a foreign language, and the weight of his family's hopes resting on his shoulders. Yet Kumar thrived, eventually attending Furman University in 1980. But in 1983, Kumar made a bold decision to leave college and chase his future in the rapidly evolving tech industry. Little did he know this move would propel him to extraordinary heights and bring him crashing down in the most spectacular fashion. Kumar's brilliance quickly became evident when he joined Computer Associates, CA, in 1987. Barely in his mid-20s, he was thrust into a fast-paced world after CA acquired UCCL Corp, where he had worked only briefly. His sharp intellect and visionary thinking earned him quick promotions. Within a year, he had relocated to Computer Associates' Long Island headquarters, marking the start of his rapid rise. By 1994, at just 31, he became president and COO, taking the reins of a company at the cutting edge of enterprise software and earning a reputation as a bold strategist who could steer the tech giant through shifting industry tides. When he took over as CEO in 2000, succeeding his mentor, Charles Wang, it felt like the culmination of a classic American dream, a young immigrant reaching the pinnacle of corporate power. Under his leadership, Kumar was praised for reshaping CA's culture, making it more customer-friendly and forward-thinking. But behind the accolades and polished success story, cracks were forming. For all his accomplishments, Kumar's tenure came at a cost. Unbeknownst to the public, CA's meteoric financial success was built on a foundation of manipulated numbers. An accounting scheme known as the 35-day month allowed the company to falsely inflate revenues, deceiving shareholders and regulators. Remember I said I'll break down the 35-day month? Imagine you're playing a game where you need to collect 10 coins each month to win, but it's the last day of the month and you only have 8 coins. Instead of admitting defeat, Kumar basically said, what if this month just didn't end yet? Here's how the scheme worked. When the quarter ended and they hadn't made enough money, they just kept the books open. They'd count money from the first days of the next quarter as if it came in during the previous one. They also backdated contracts. When someone agreed to pay them in the future, they'd write down that they already got paid last month. At first, they only cheated by a few days with what they called the 3-day window. But then they got bolder with the flash period, counting money from up to 35 days later. The scale? Absolutely insane. They did this with $3.3 billion. That's enough money to buy 6 million gaming consoles or 330 million large pizzas. In 2004, the truth began to emerge. Federal investigators uncovered the fraud, though Kumar orchestrated a cover-up that involved lying under oath about the 35-day month and other frauds, in trying to buy the silence of a potential witness. Despite, when the truth came out, the company's stock price crashed 43% in a single day. 800 people lost their jobs, and the company had to pay $225 million to investors they deceived. The lesson? You can't invent extra days when you're running out of time. In business and in life, reality always catches up. Despite his denials, resigned as CEO under mounting pressure. He took a lower-profile role as chief software architect, but his days at CA were numbered. Just weeks later, he left the company entirely as the storm brewed, as prosecutors sharpened their focus. By 2006, the walls closed in. With 15,000 employees worldwide, CA Incorporated was the world's fifth largest software provider. At his guilty plea proceeding on April 24, 2006, Kumar admitted fraudulently inflating the quarterly revenue and earnings of Computer Associates by keeping the company's books open, past quarter ends, in order to give the appearance that the company had met or exceeded quarterly revenue projections, when the company's performance had actually fallen short of those goals. This fraudulent scheme caused the company to recognize prematurely over $2 billion in revenue between 1999 and 2000, which resulted in losses to the company's shareholders in excess of $400 million. Kumar has also admitted obstructing the government's investigation by lying to federal investigators and by directing Computer Associates employees to provide false explanations for the fraudulent accounting practices to the government, pleading guilty to obstruction of justice and securities fraud. The odds were devastatingly against him. The man who had once commanded boardrooms now faced prison walls.
I stand before your honor today to take full responsibility for my actions,
Kumar said during his sentencing in 2006. His voice trembled, not with defiance, but with the raw acceptance of a man who knew he had failed. Not just himself, but his family, his employees, and the shareholders who trusted him. The court sentenced him to 12 years in federal prison and ordered him to pay $8 million in fines and nearly $800 million in restitution. It was a staggering fall for a man who had once been hailed as a visionary leader. U.S. District Judge R. Leo Glasser imposed the term and an $8 million fine at the U.S. Courthouse, 225 Cadman Plaza East in Brooklyn, New York, and ordered Kumar, 44, to report to a federal prison by February 27th. Kumar pleaded guilty in April to charges including conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction of justice.
His cupidity calls for a meaningful sentence,
the judge said. Glasser noted he didn't impose the life sentence called for by federal guidelines and called imprisonment not an appropriate measure of promoting rehabilitation. The sentence fell short of the longest recent prison terms for executives convicted in the crackdown on corporate fraud after Enron's collapse in 2001. Yet Kumar did not go quietly. In court, he alleged that his mentor, Charles Wang, had orchestrated improper accounting practices for years. He claimed that board members, including a former U.S. senator, had knowledge of the fraud. These revelations added another layer of betrayal to an already scandalous saga, suggesting that Kumar was not alone in the scandal, but he was the one paying the price. Prison was a humbling chapter for Kumar. It stripped away everything him had built: his wealth, his reputation, and his freedom. For over a decade, he lived among men with whom he had little in common, grappling with the consequences of his actions. The man who once wielded immense power lived among the incarcerated, a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition. It was a far cry from the opulence of corporate boardrooms, but prison gave Kumar time to reflect. The man who had once been consumed by ambition now faced his own humanity. His story became a reminder that the pursuit of success, when untethered from ethics, can lead to devastating ruin. On January 25, 2017, Kumar walked out of federal prison, a free man for the first time in 12 years. But freedom did not erase his debts. He owed nearly $800 million in restitution, which was reduced to $52 million. After his guilty pleas to fraud and obstruction of justice in 2006, and the government would take 20% of his future earnings. Kumar emerged into a world that had moved on, one in which his name was no longer synonymous with success, but with scandal. For many, his story ended with his release. But for Kumar, the journey to rebuild, if not his reputation, then his humanity, was just beginning. It is a tale about the seductive allure of power and the ethical compromises that can destroy even the brightest careers. According to Wharton professor Scott Richardson, these timing infractions are far from harmless. While it appears innocuous to say it is revenue one day early, this type of practice allows companies to draw on future earnings to deliver growth and justify high price-to-earnings multiples. He explains, the consequences are far from innocuous. How does such fraud become normalized within a company? Professor Thomas Dunphy notes that the organization's values evolve in such a way that they are perverse when objectively viewed from outside. No one sets out to establish evil norms, but they develop ways of framing issues that become increasingly disconnected from ethical standards. Sanjay Kumar's story is neither pure triumph nor complete tragedy. It is the story of a man who climbed too high, too fast, and fell hard. It also tells us of resilience, of a man who, despite losing everything, found the strength to face his mistakes. What Kumar's future holds remains uncertain. His life reminds us that ambition, when unmoored from integrity, can destroy even the brightest stars. Yet it also shows that no fall is final and no journey is without the hope of redemption. The New York Times reported on accounting tricks used by CA in April 2001, which triggered an investigation. The FBI also investigated possible accounting fraud at CA in February 2002. SEC investigations revealed backdated contracts and suspicious accounting practices. Kumar was sentenced to 12 years in prison and fined $8 million in November 2006. He was released in 2017. Do you think Kumar's former boss and Senator D'Amato knew about his accounting fraud? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to our channel, and we want to read your thoughts in the comments.